In a forest at night, the governor and his subordinates arrive to inspect a newly discovered stone statue of a Buddha's head. Although the governor orders it to be unearthed, several monks try to stop him, warning that it could bring disaster. The governor ignores their warnings. Eventually, they uncover a large stone statue of a Buddha's head, buried underground. Even though it is made of stone, its eyes are covered with a cloth bearing strange symbols. The governor orders the cloth to be removed, and a man named Bang Won is told to do it. By morning, the statue has been loaded onto a truck. Bang Won cleans it, and as he does, he cannot stop staring at the statue's now uncovered eyes. The statue is to be transported to City Hall for public display. On the way, a taxi driver accidentally catches sight of the statue's eyes. Elsewhere, a high school student named Yong-ju is preparing to go to school. His relationship with his mother, Seok-hee, a police officer, is not very good. Yong-ju wants to walk to school, but his mother insists on driving him so he will not be late. Meanwhile, at a university, a man named Ki-Hoon is selling his self-published magazine about mysteries and ghosts. He has been called there by a professor who wants to show him something. The professor introduces Ki-Hoon to two monks who are looking for him. They ask him about a story he once wrote, about a Buddha statue that sealed away an ancient curse, and whether it was based on reality. Ki-Hoon explains that the story was inspired by folklore and myths, but he tried to approach it in a scientific way. The monks become concerned because they believe the newly discovered Buddha head may be the same statue from the legend, a statue said to seal a terrible curse and was buried for the sake of humanity. Now that the statue has been found, the monks ask Ki-Hoon to investigate it. Ki-Hoon agrees, but only if he is paid, and the monks accept his terms. The professor and Ki-Hoon are old friends. The professor wants Ki-Hoon to teach at the university, but Ki-Hoon refuses. It is revealed that Ki-Hoon has an ex-wife who is also a researcher, but they separated for unknown reasons, even though both of them are highly intelligent and talented and could easily have become academics if they had wanted to. Meanwhile, in a small village, we see a woman named Soo-jin, Ki-Hoon's ex-wife. While at a shop, Soo-jin notices a child's backpack and a doll, which remind her of painful memories from the past. She and Ki-Hoon once had a daughter who passed away. This tragedy damaged their relationship and eventually led them to separate. Later in the afternoon, the sky suddenly darkens, signaling that rain is coming. But the rain that falls is black, as if mixed with pollution. Soo-jin takes a taxi home and gets slightly soaked in the rain when she arrives. She lives alone in the village and at the same time receives a call from one of her clients. Soo-jin now works as a translator of ancient languages. Elsewhere, Ki-Hoon is also researching the Buddha head statue, but he cannot understand the writing on the cloth that once covered its eyes. Since Soo-jin is better at translating ancient scripts, Ki-Hoon asks for her help. Soo-jin looks at the photos of the statue and, intrigued, begins working on the translation, although it will take time. Meanwhile, Bang Won goes to a restaurant he often visits and orders a bottle of soju. His clothes are wet from the black rain, and suddenly his eyes begin to feel strange and uncomfortable. He goes to the restroom to wash his face and eyes, but the discomfort does not go away. Suddenly, an old man appears who looks exactly like Ki-Hoon's father, whom Ki-Hoon despises. The man asks him for money to gamble, but Ki-Hoon refuses and even pushes him away. Ki-Hoon leaves the restroom, and his eyes hurt even more, and he sees his father again. In reality, Bang Won is experiencing an illusion caused by looking into the statue's eyes. His eyes turn white, and the image of his father becomes terrifying. Ki-Hoon becomes aggressive and attacks the man, who is actually just the restaurant owner. Other customers intervene before things get worse. Elsewhere, Yong-ju and Seok-hee are at home, and their relationship is still strained. Yong-ju is a troubled student at school, and earlier that day he got into a fight. He refuses to listen to his mother, so Seok-hee confiscates his phone for a week. At the same time, Seok-hee receives a call for duty. On the road, the black rain has stopped and has turned into hail. In the opposite lane, she sees the same taxi driver from before, now with white eyes, driving against traffic. But fortunately, Seok-hee manages to avoid a collision. Soon after, Seok-hee arrives at the police station. Through her car's shattered window, she sees chunks of hail shaped like skulls, stained with black water. Inside the station, Seok-hee sees Bang Won, who has been detained by the police. Since this is a small village, Seok-hee knows Bang Won and considers him a good man, so she believes he could not have been involved in violence like fighting. However, Bang Won is hallucinating, as if he were under the influence of drugs. He suddenly goes berserk, foam forming at his mouth as he tries to attack Seok-hee, but his hands are cuffed to the chair, causing his arm to break instead. Bang Won, now unconscious, is quickly taken to the hospital by ambulance. Even while unconscious, his eyes remain white. The nurses have never handled a case like this before and do not know what Bang Won is suffering from. The next day, in a neighboring village, Soo-jin is invited by a neighbor to go to the district office, where a meeting is being held to discuss yesterday's black rain. Soo-jin initially refuses because she has work to do, but her neighbor insists, and she reluctantly goes along. Soon they arrive at the district office with other curious residents. There, Soo-jin sees the Buddha head statue that has just been moved to this location. Her attention is drawn to the statue's eyes, which no longer have the covering she saw in the photos. Elsewhere, a man named Kim Soon has just been released from prison the day before and returns home. He calls his friend to tell him he is free and asks him to gather their friends. He also asks about Yong-ju, and his friend says that Yong-ju is currently doing community service at the district office because of a fight at school. Hearing this, Kim Soon wants them all to gather at the district office. Meanwhile, the monks are investigating the statue and realize that the cloth covering the eyes was a sealing tool meant to imprison a powerful evil spirit inside it. The cloth was wrapped in multiple layers, meaning the demon inside is no ordinary one. It seems to possess powers through its eyes. At the same time, the head monk summons one of the monks. He is ordered to stop the investigation into the Buddha head statue. The governor has contacted the head monk, and since the governor can be bribed and does not believe in the myths, the head monk chooses to ignore them. After leaving the head monk's chamber, the monk sees another monk running in fear from the temple. Curious, he follows and discovers that one of the paintings has begun bleeding from its eyes, a warning of a coming disaster. The monk is convinced that bringing the Buddha head statue here will bring great misfortune, but once again, because the head monk does not believe in it, he forbids any opposition to the governor's orders. Elsewhere, Yong-ju is cleaning the district office. While in the restroom, he is surrounded by Kim Soon's men. Kim Soon turns out to be the leader of a motorcycle gang. Yong-ju is forcibly taken to the rooftop, where Kim Soon is already waiting. There, Yong-ju is beaten, as Kim Soon believes Yong-ju is the one who sent him to prison, especially since Yong-ju's mother is a police officer. Kim Soon pulls out a knife and threatens to hurt Yong-ju's mother and continues to torment him. At the same time, two people arrive on the rooftop. Kim Soon and his gang are not afraid, even though they have been discovered. Yong-ju takes advantage of the moment to escape and clean himself up in the restroom. Yong-ju tries to inform the district office staff that his punishment is complete, but the staff are busy because an emergency meeting is about to be held regarding the black rain. Meanwhile, Soo-jin is still near the Buddha head statue and warns the staff that such an object should not be publicly displayed. However, since it is not her authority, she cannot do anything about it. Feeling that there is something wrong with the statue's eyes, Soo-jin turns off the light so that its eyes cannot be seen from outside through the glass. She then enters the hall, which is already filled with curious residents. Soo-jin does not know many of the people there, but her attention is drawn to one man, the man who once drove the car that killed her child. Disturbed, Soo-jin leaves the hall and calls Ki-Hoon, asking if that man has been released from prison. Ki-Hoon does not understand what she means, because that man should still be in prison. This means the person Soo-jin saw was only a hallucination. Soo-jin ends the call, and at the same time, Ki-Hoon hears a radio broadcast about the black rain in the village, announcing that residents have been gathered at the district hall to discuss the incident. Hearing this, Ki-Hoon decides to go to the village to check on Soo-jin. Soo-jin returns to the hall, but can no longer find the man who killed her child. The residents grow angry because the meeting has not yet started. Soon, the governor and his staff arrive. The governor himself actually knows nothing about the black rain and can only calm the people by saying the government needs time to investigate. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Kim Soon and his men see the sky grow dark and filled with fog. Explosions and screams can be heard in the distance. One man on the rooftop already has eyes that have turned white. In the hall, a farmer holding a sickle, whose eyes have also turned white, becomes aggressive under the influence of hallucinations and attacks people, triggering panic. At the same time, Soo Jin once again sees the man who killed her child, but she chooses to ignore him. People flee the district office in terror. Soo Jin sees the man from the rooftop commit suicide by jumping from the top of the building. The neighbor who had invited Soo Jin to the district office is also struck by a car and killed. Chaos erupts everywhere, and those with white eyes become violent, killing anyone near them. Meanwhile in the city, Seok-hee is at the hospital after bringing Bang-won in for treatment. Bang-won's mother is already there and cannot understand why her son suddenly became so aggressive. Seok-hee accompanies her to meet the doctor. The doctor explains that no drugs or excessive alcohol were found in Bang-won's blood that could explain such extreme behavior. However, the level of glutamic acid in his blood is several hundred times higher than normal, which could cause severe hallucinations. This is a condition that should not be possible without drug use. In fact, with such a condition, Bang-won should have died the previous night. But strangely, when his blood was tested again this morning, the glutamic acid level had returned to normal. After leaving the hospital, Seok-hee receives a call from one of her officers telling her to return to the police station immediately. Back at the district office, Kim Soon and his gang watch people killing each other from the rooftop. Kim Soon, a psychopath, actually enjoys the chaos and uses it as an excuse to beat and kill people, even though his eyes are not white. Some survivors decide to take shelter inside the district office again. Among them are Soo Jin and Yong-ju, but Kim Soon and his men also enter with them. They barricade the doors to keep the affected people outside. Inside, Soo Jin once again sees the man who killed her child, but she chooses to avoid him. Yong-ju notices her strange behavior. Everyone receives an emergency alert on their phones stating that a disaster has occurred in the village and that it will be quarantined. News of yesterday's black rain has become national news, and the monks see the report and notice that the Buddha statue no longer has its eye covering. At the same time, Ki-Hoon is already on the road to the village, but the road is blocked because the village has been quarantined. Soldiers stop him at the checkpoint, and he is not allowed to enter. Ki-Hoon tries to rally the crowd to pressure the soldiers, but it does not work. At the same time, Seok-hee arrives in a taxi, but she is also stopped by the soldiers. Even though Seok-hee is the head of the police department, she is still not allowed to pass the village border. Meanwhile, inside the district office, people are confused and terrified, not knowing what is happening. Kim Soon claims that the black rain from yesterday must have carried a deadly virus that makes people aggressive. He suggests killing the infected to prevent the spread. But killing is not a simple matter, even if someone is infected. At that moment, Soo Jin suddenly faints. Kim Soon immediately claims she is infected and must be killed. Everyone else remains silent. Only Yong-ju stands up to protect her. Kim Soon orders his men to hold Yong-ju, but Yong-ju fights back while the villagers do nothing. Kim Soon attacks Yong-ju and beats him until he can no longer resist. Kim Soon approaches Soo Jin to kill her, but Yong-ju refuses to give up and continues fighting. Kim Soon cannot bring himself to kill Yong-ju. At that moment, Soo Jin's phone rings. Ki-Hoon is calling. Kim Soon backs off and leaves Soo Jin and Yong-ju. Yong-ju answers Soo Jin's phone. Yong-ju explains that Soo Jin and several others are sheltering inside the district office. Ki-Hoon mentions Yong-ju's name, and Seok-hee hears it and borrows the phone to ask about him. But the governor snatches the phone away and speaks to Seok-hee himself. The governor asks where the police support is. Seok-hee, as the head of patrol, says she will come as soon as possible. Knowing that Soo Jin and Yong-ju are in the same place, Ki-Hoon suggests that he and Seok-hee work together to get to the district office. Seok-hee knows a back route into the village, and since she does not have a car, she will use Ki-Hoon's. Meanwhile, after Seok-hee tells the governor that help is on the way, the governor believes reinforcements will arrive soon and tries to calm the people. However, Kim soon insists they must remain cautious. He argues that anyone who was exposed to the black rain yesterday should be tied up and separated from those who were not exposed. Even though there are many adults present, not a single one of them dares to oppose Kim Soon. Frightened of Kim Soon, the governor obeys his orders and allows the separation of those who were exposed to the black rain. The exposed people are tied up and gathered into one room. Soo-jin is also separated. She looks completely emotionless, while the other detainees are crying. Meanwhile, Ki-Hoon and Seok-hee take a small back road that Seok-hee knows in order to enter the village. As the head of police patrol, Seok-hee is familiar with these routes. On the news, they hear that the government is still investigating the link between yesterday's black rain and the violence that followed. At the same time, inside the district office, people are also watching news reports suggesting that the black rain may have contained a dangerous virus. Kim Soon uses this to strengthen his argument, especially since there is still no information about any rescue being sent for them. A bus driver says that his bus parked outside could be used for everyone to escape together. But to reach the bus, they would have to go outside and face the infected people roaming around. Kim Soon agrees to protect them on the way, but only if the governor allows him to kill the infected. This becomes a terrible choice that the governor cannot immediately answer. Meanwhile, as Soo-jin's eyes slowly begin to turn white, she remembers the past. She used to be a university lecturer. That day, Ki-Hoon was supposed to pick up their daughter from school, but because Ki-Hoon was busy, he apologized and asked Soo-jin to do it instead. Soo-jin also had an important meeting, and when their daughter got off the bus, Soo-jin was late to pick her up. Soo-jin arrived near the pickup point and saw her daughter walking alone. The child ran into the road after seeing a car that looked like Ki-Hoon's, and she was struck by a delivery truck and killed. This tragedy is what destroyed Ki-Hoon and Soo-jin's relationship and eventually led them to separate. Meanwhile, Ki-Hoon and Seok-hee have entered the village, which is now covered in thick fog. They are in a field, but there is no one in sight. On the ground, they see puddles of black water. Ki-Hoon touches it and says that yesterday's rain was unnatural. Ki-Hoon asks if anything else strange happened yesterday, and Seok-hee remembers that it also rained hail, shaped like human faces. Now she is sure the rain was not normal. Suddenly, the sky fills with crows flying toward them. Instead of getting into the car, they run away and hide inside a warehouse. The crows do not give up and begin smashing against the windows. They can only hold out as best they can inside the building. Ki-Hoon pours sugar onto the table and draws a strange symbol. When Seok-hee can no longer hold the birds back, they hide under the table. The symbol Ki-Hoon drew turns out to be a charm that protects them from the crows. However, the birds do not leave. They remain inside the building, waiting. When things finally calm down, they discover the homeowner, who turns out to be dead. That is why they had not found anyone inside the house. Seok-hee wants to examine the body, but Ki-Hoon stops her, warning that if she leaves the barrier, the crows will attack her. Seok-hee now realizes that Ki-Hoon is not an ordinary person, but some kind of modern shaman. Ki-Hoon explains that the black rain yesterday was not actually dangerous. It was a warning of an approaching disaster. What matters now is to find the source of what caused it. Ki-Hoon calls the monk and asks whether the Buddha head statue he asked him to investigate is located in this area. The monk replies that the statue is now in the district office and is being displayed there. He also explains that the cloth covering the statue's eyes has been removed, and that anyone who looks into the statue's eyes will see hell within their own heart, which is why they become violent. Meanwhile, at the district office, Soo-jin's eyes have now turned completely white, but fortunately, she is still tied up. She is reliving the most painful moment of her life, the day her daughter died. Elsewhere, another monk searches for information about the Buddha head statue and finally finds it. The demon sealed within the statue once possessed a monk and forced him to commit many crimes. When he was discovered, he was punished by having his head cut off. The demon has the ability to control humans and make them kill each other. Back with Ki-Hoon and Seok-hee, they cannot remain hiding. They run out from under the table and back to the car while the crows chase and attack them. Ki-Hoon uses mud to draw a barrier symbol on the car to protect them from the birds. They manage to do it just in time, though they are covered in wounds. Now they can continue their journey toward the district office. After traveling a while, they see a body on the road. Seok-hee gets out to check it and discovers it is a police officer she knows. Unable to take the body with her, all she can do is move it to the side of the road so it will not be run over. Meanwhile, at the district office, Soo-jin is still hallucinating, but somehow her restraints have come loose. She sees the person guarding her as the one who took her child and attacks him. Soo-jin storms out of the room holding a sharp stick covered in blood, her eyes completely white. She attacks people and is about to kill the governor before Kim Soon stops her. Knowing that if Soo-jin attacks Kim Soon, she will be killed, Yong-ju attacks Soo-jin to save her, but Soo-jin turns on him instead. Kim Soon strikes Soo-jin with a chair and finally subdues her. Soo-jin begs to be killed. Kim Soon agrees to kill her, but Yong-ju stops him, shouting that the adults there are useless. In the end, Yong-ju is beaten instead, and he never fights back against Kim Soon. Meanwhile, Ki-Hoon and Seok-hee are now very close to the district office. They see a standing police officer and assume he is still alive, so they approach him. However, the officer's eyes are white and he points his gun at Seok-hee. Seok-hee instinctively tries to fight him, but she is not strong enough and is overwhelmed. The officer gains the upper hand, but Ki-Hoon arrives just in time and saves her. They rush back into the car. Even though the barrier symbol is still on it, the officer continues firing at them and finally turns the gun on himself and commits suicide. At the district office, Soo-jin has calmed down and is no longer a threat. However, the other detainees are crying and begging to be released, insisting that they are not like Soo-jin. The governor remains silent out of fear of Kim Soon. He suggests separating the healthy people from the infected ones, proposing that the infected be sent outside. So even if they die, their deaths will not be the responsibility of those inside. The people there are cowards, and only Yong-ju tries to stop them, even though he keeps getting beaten for it. Meanwhile, outside, the infected people burn through the ventilation opening, filling the room with smoke. Back inside, Yong-ju fights back and throws Kim Soon into the glass barrier that has been blocking the Buddha statue's eyes. The glass shatters, and now people can see the statue's eyes, including Yong-ju. Kim Soon does not see them. Elsewhere, Ki-Hoon and Seok-hee see an explosion at the district office not far away. The monk calls Ki-Hoon and tells him how to stop the outbreak. To stop it, Ki-Hoon must reseal the demon inside the statue by covering its eyes with a seal. Ki-Hoon can do it, but he must do it with his eyes closed. The monk will chant prayers so the demon cannot use its power, and Ki-Hoon must not hang up the call. Ki-Hoon stops and soaks his magazine with the black rainwater, which he will use to cover the statue's eyes. Meanwhile, at the district office, a fire breaks out after the explosion, and people panic. They decide to leave and use the bus to escape, abandoning the infected behind. Before leaving, Kim Soon pulls out the knife he always carries and approaches Yong-ju. But instead of killing him, he gives the knife to Yong-ju. People leave in an orderly line through the dark fog. The infected attack them, easily separating them from the healthy ones. The survivors board the bus and most of them succeed. The bus drives away and people begin to feel relieved, but the driver is infected and has white eyes. Kim Soon realizes this. The bus almost crashes into Ki-Hoon's car, but Kim Soon manages to avoid the collision. However, the bus loses control and overturns. Some people inside are still alive, but Kim Soon is now infected as well. Others attack him, but he survives. Then Kim Soon goes berserk, and the people inside the bus begin killing each other. Kim Soon manages to escape the bus, but he eventually dies too. Back at the district office, only Yong-ju and Soo-jin remain, both hallucinating. Yong-ju wants to kill Soo-jin, but at that moment the monk begins his prayer. Ki-Hoon and Seok-hee crash their car into the district office with their eyes closed and hit the statue directly. Ki-Hoon and Seok-hee survive the crash. Seok-hee has been told not to open her eyes, but she looks anyway while searching for Yong-ju and accidentally sees the statue's eyes. When she finds Yongju, she approaches him, but Yongju runs away. When Seok-hee chases him, Yongju attacks her and nearly kills her with Kim Soon's knife. Seok-hee fights back. Now, under the influence of the hallucinations as well, she manages to overpower Yongju and pin him down. Meanwhile, Ki-Hoon tries to cover the statue's eyes with the magazine he soaked earlier. After struggling for some time, he finally manages to cover the statue's eyes. The statue's influence disappears, and Seok-hee stops herself from killing Yongju. Ki-Hoon carves a ceiling symbol to trap the demon, and its influence fades completely, shown by Seok-hee's and Yongju's eyes returning to normal. Ki-Hoon then checks on Soo-jin, who is unconscious. At the same time, smoke filling the room triggers the sprinklers, soaking the area with water. Soo-jin wakes up, but the water causes the paper covering the statue's eyes to fall off, and those affected by the hallucinations become influenced again. Now Seok-hee and Yongju start fighting again, and Yongju manages to corner his mother. From Seok-hee's hand, Yongju notices a stitched wound. Flashback. In the past, Kim Soon and Yongju were very close because they were in the same motorcycle gang. Kim Soon once told Yongju that when he was young, his stepfather often beat him, which is why he grew up troubled. One night they were riding recklessly and were chased by a police car driven by Seok-hee. Because he lost control, Kim Soon crashed and fell. The police approached, and Kim Soon tried to take Yongju with him, but Yongju was in pain, so Kim Soon was forced to leave him behind. Seok-hee chased Yongju and caught him. As she was about to arrest him, Kim Soon appeared and attacked Seok-hee, not knowing that she was Yongju's mother. This time, Kim Soon was the one who got arrested. Holding a knife, Kim Soon slashed Seok-hee's hand. When he heard Yongju scream, "Mom," Kim Soon realized he had just cut his friend's mother. Back in the present, Ki-Hoon accidentally looks into the statue's eyes. The hell in his heart is the moment Soo-jin blamed him for their child's death. Soo-jin transforms into a spider and attacks Ki-Hoon, but it is only an illusion. Knowing she must not look at the statue's eyes, Soo-jin closes her own eyes while checking on Ki-Hoon. Soo-jin hears the monk calling Ki-Hoon's name on the phone. The monk asks Soo-jin to cover the Buddha statue's eyes as soon as possible. Soo-jin tears a piece of cloth to blindfold herself, then tries again to cover the statue's eyes with the magazine paper, and succeeds. Soo-jin remembers the sealing symbol from a photo Ki-Hoon once sent her, so she redraws the seal. Ki-Hoon is still under the illusion and attacks Soo-jin, but the car suddenly moves, preventing Ki-Hoon from killing her and allowing Ki-Hoon to regain some awareness. Ki-Hoon then tries to kill himself, but Soo-jin stops him. The rope holding the statue snaps, causing the statue and Ki-Hoon's car to fall into the basement of the district office and explode, but Soo-jin and Ki-Hoon escape the car just in time. Now everyone affected by the hallucinations is freed, and the sky has returned to normal. After everything that happened, Soo-jin's and Ki-Hoon's relationship improves and they get back together. Ki-Hoon and Soo-jin now run a YouTube channel investigating supernatural phenomena. This time, they are at a location examining what appears to be an alien corpse, and with that, the series comes to an end. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.